All right, have you guys ever been like watching a horror movie, right? The hero's like walking down the corridor and you know that like any second the monster's gonna jump out behind any door. And they know that too. Their heart's beating fast and your heart's beating fast. What's happening there is a process called neural coupling. We found out about this about 10 years ago. And it tells us that when you're watching or listening or a story, your brain waves, the neural pathways in your brain light up the same way as if the story is actually happening to you. In our brain, we feel like we are the hero in that story that's like waiting for the monster to come out. So when you're telling somebody a story, that is literally a chance for you, and it's a good story, it has to be a good story. That's a chance for you to be connected on a brain level. Okay, again, I think I'm losing you here. It's too much science. You guys aren't nerds like I am about it. So we're gonna move on to something that maybe resonates a little bit more. Anybody started drinking yet today? All right, so a storytelling cocktail, if you will. What else happens is we have neurochemicals, hormones in us that get elevated when we tell good stories. Number one, cortisol. Cortisol happens when your adrenaline rises, in that rising action, when the hero is going through the corridor waiting for the monster, your cortisol levels go up, and what that does is create awareness. It has you on the edge of your seat, you know that expression. So now you're locked in. 2, dopamine. That's the feel-good drug. That elevates when the hero slays the monster and we feel good about it. We win, right? Dope. That's where it comes from. You feel good, feeling of euphoria. And lastly, the kicker that really gets you drunk is oxytocin. Historically known as the love hormone, it's also known as the trust hormone. And this is where empathy comes from. And these levels rise when we relate to the struggles that the character or the hero is going through. That's great. But does it make people take action? When you get them drunk on this storytelling cocktail, then what? In 2009, there was a study, Josh Glenn and Rob Walker, called Significant Objects. You can look it up. And they took $129 worth of odds and ends, gadgets, who's its and what's its galore, and they were going to relist them and sell them on eBay. And so what the experiment was, they hired writers and marketers to craft the eBay descriptions on the item. And then they sold them. Anybody ever heard of this before? You heard this? Guess how much they sold them for? Don't worry, I'll tell you. $8,000. $129 to $8,000. Now, I'm not a mathematician, but I think that is 6,200% increase. Somebody check it. It's a hell of a flip, ladies and gentlemen. Sounds right? Close enough? Still ridiculous. So, what does that tell us? That tells us that when we lift those levels of those hormones, those neurochemicals, and we get them all drunk on our storytelling cocktail, if you give them somewhere to take that energy, they'll take it. So it doesn't really do you any good to tell a great story if you don't give them somewhere to go with it. A clear call to action.